All right, welcome back to another episode of Generally Assembled, your favorite House Republican podcast. My name is Jason Gottesman, once again joined by Chairman, Umpire, Representative, Dad, all-around good man, Jesse Topper.
I like that intro. I'm going to use that for our official bio.
I'm sure you have other titles.
Well, I spoke to the independent colleges and universities, I think it was Tuesday morning, at a legislative breakfast. And it's funny, when the president of Susquehanna was reading my bio, it's like the bio gets longer every time. It's kind of interesting. I'm not sure it gets better every time, but it at least gets longer. But interesting, just a note for that. So my gram, my uncle, and my dad are all graduates from Susquehanna. Mm-hmm. So when the president introduced me, he said, "I'm not sure how we missed this particular generation," because I went to Frostburg State. I'm like, well, this particular generation was working at the time full time and needed to commute and couldn't really afford Susquehanna at the moment. But great school, and it was actually, that was a really good event. We got to talk a lot of higher ed policy, and it's amazing that these schools keep asking about the blueprint, and basically settled on, this is not a blueprint. What the governor put out was a statement of ideas. There was no blueprint. We're actually working on substantive policy behind the scenes. It started a conversation, and that's fine, but the word blueprint was a little premature based on the details behind the plan. But that's just a little side note on higher education.
Well, here's what I want to know about your time at Frostburg State. Did you meet Mike O'Malley?
I don't know that I did.
Do you know Mike O'Malley?
No.
He used to be the host of Guts on Nickelodeon.
No kidding.
He was in a very short-lived but incredibly funny sitcom called Yes, Dear.
I remember that sitcom. Well, what's his connection to Frostburg?
He went to Frostburg.
Okay. Well, he went there. He'd still live in the area.
No. But then his character on Yes, Dear wore Frostburg State University stuff all the time. And he always said the biggest joke was that everybody thinks he went to college at Frostbite Falls, which is where Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Well, trust me, if you've ever been to Frostburg State, it feels a lot like Frostbite, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it was cold. It would snow there when it was sunny everywhere else.
Yeah, check out Mike O'Malley. He was an umpire on Guts. He was he wore the comedian, actor, and to the best of my knowledge, a Marylander, but definitely went to Frostburg.
Okay,
Frostburg State.
I will check that out.
All right. Well, that's I think I'm like the second most knowledgeable person about Frostburg State University.
Right, but I was it's like when you asked, who do I know? I'm like, well, it's a small school, right? A small state school in Maryland, right across the border from Bedford County. I thought, it's kind of a small world. The fact that somebody came out of there and had that kind of
I'm sure there's other famous alumni.
I mean, let's put it this way: I was featured as a famous alum in one of their. Are you
going to be a commencement speaker? You think that'll ever happen? You think?
Oh, I don't know. I've been a commencement speaker at high schools.
Uh-huh.
I've never been a commencement. I'm trying to think. I don't believe I've ever been a commencement speaker at a university, though.
That's one of my life ambitions, to be a commencement speaker at a high school.
It's pretty cool. I'll be honest. All the times I've done it at several, and it is an honor. I really enjoy it. I enjoy preparing for it. I enjoy those evenings. But yeah, that would be. I've spoken at universities and college, but never at commencement.
And I'll tell you why. This is one of my life ambitions. My commencement speakers were so bad at my high school graduation. So the first night it got rained out. It was an outdoor graduation on Penn Ridge High School's football field. This is before they moved it indoors at Lehigh University. So it got rained out the first day. And if they didn't get it done the second day, there was going to be no formal graduation ceremony. So we're sitting outside, and these commencement speakers are droning on and on and on. And there are thunder and lightning clouds off in the distance. Like, storms are rolling in. Finally, like, with two speakers to go, the parents gave them each, 5 minutes and then started clapping in the stands. Like, you're done, we're trying to get through. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be conscious of that. I've done both indoor and outdoor, but... listen, first of all, I would caution anyone who's speaking at one of those. Don't make it about yourself. Make it about the kids. And if you do that, they're gonna be into it. It'll be authentic. It'll feel good. Because we've all been to those events where it becomes like a bio of the person, and that's that's normally not as interesting.
One of the best commencement addresses I've ever heard, and we'll get on that to some actual topics here in a few minutes, and then we'll get back off of that, talk about the real stuff.
Right.
But is by Colin Malloy, who is the lead singer and founder of this band, the Decemberists, which I really like. And Colin Malloy grew up in Montana. I went to Helena High School. Briefly attended where I went to college, University of Montana. And then after he sort of made it famous, went back and was asked at Helena High School, by Helena High School, to come back and give his commencement address. I'll just put that out there. I'm not going to recite any of it. It's about this idea of Montana exceptionalism, which is pretty inspiring, especially if you've ever spent any time out there. But, to have somebody, sort of rise up through the ranks of, music stardom and then come back and appreciate sort of this conservative small town, Helena's the state capital, but, by all other standards, a small town, and have that sort of an insight about, basically leaving and then coming back, and how you're supposed to appreciate not only that experience, but also the experience of people who stay, which is very, very, it was all around really good commencement address, especially for anyone with any connection to the Treasure State.
Love it.
Montana.
Not
the Big Sky State.
The Treasure State.
The Treasure State, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they have a state candy? No, I'm sorry. All right, moving on. Substantive work.
All right, so substantive. Let's first things first. Voter ID this week. We, the House Republican Caucus, this week announced that we are using the discharge resolution process. We're going to try anyway to get the voter ID constitutional amendment out of committee. Now, voter ID as a concept was voted on the House floor on its own as an amendment to a bill, and it was approved to that bill with 22 House Democrats joining in support. So now under the new House rules, which were designed allegedly to ensure strong bipartisan ideas don't get bottled up in committee, instead of just needing 25 members to sign on to a discharge resolution petition, you need 25 members from both caucuses. So we're trying to utilize this new discharge resolution process to bring about and up for a vote on the House floor a concept and idea supported by 74% of Pennsylvanians. I think the number is 48% of Democrats, maybe 46 in Pennsylvania. Nationally, 80% of Americans support showing of ID every time you vote, including 60% of Democrats nationwide. That idea has been bottled up in committee for far too long. We have passed a constitutional amendment in the previous session. The identical language is sitting in the state government committee. If we get it passed by this July, it will be on the ballot for November, which is going to be one of the highest turnout elections, not only in the past 4 years, but in the coming 4 years. And it will give Pennsylvanians the largest say in whether or not this should be in the Constitution. And I'll say I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. When this story hit in the Philadelphia media market, that's not always a place that
the most
friendly. Every single comment I saw on the Facebook post that was put up by NBC 10, all but one was absolutely common sense idea. ID every time you vote. Yet Democrats are sitting on this proposal.
Listen, all the arguments have been used, right? You go to Walmart and you come out with something that could potentially be even if it's like cold medication over the counter, mm-hmm. you can't check out until you show that you're actually over 18. All those things. We've heard the arguments time and time again. When you talk about a constitutional amendment, one thing I always want to remind folks is this is the ultimate form of democracy because mm-hmm. It's not just us saying this is what is going to be law. It's us saying, do you believe this should be codified in statute, in our Constitution? And if you don't, go vote that way, right? What is the harm of giving the people the choice? But you went through the numbers. You went through the polling numbers. This is absolutely something that would be approved.
Right.
We know this. I look at it as if we're going to work on expanding, quote, access to vote, you have to also ensure security. And I've never been one of these guys to go out and say, hey, everybody, just go out and vote. Go out and vote. It's your right. Go out and vote. No, take it seriously. Mm-hmm. Like, if you don't know what you're voting on, If you don't ever do any research, if you don't like to just go in and fill it out like it's a multiple choice test that you feel like you're obligated to do, well, that's not being a good citizen either, right? Voting is also, in addition to a right, it is a privilege, and there must be accountability associated with it. It ensures that those who are making their votes have trust that their vote matters, that it's not going to be basically negated by a vote that should not have taken place. And so when the results come out, if you believe it was a secure and fair and upfront process, you can live with those results even if you were on the losing end. I think what's happened in this nation is that everything has become so divided and the trust has been so broken over the years that even when things are done well, there's still a level of distrust. This could go a long way in a common sense way, in a way that does not infringe upon anybody's right to vote. But it could go a long way to restoring trust in the process. And I think for that reason alone, both sides should be in favor of this.
Here's a bit of irony for you, and then we'll continue on some other discussion. I always find it interesting that there are a lot of folks of both parties, but I think especially Democrats, who love to wear the I voted sticker right after they vote. They want people on the back end to accurately verify that they participated in democracy. But on the front end, they don't want anybody to accurately verify that they are the ones participating in democracy.
It really, look, you can, again, you make the arguments for and against, and at the end of the day, it is not a hardship. Nobody can claim that it's a hardship to go in and to show some form of ID or to have signature verification on mail-in ballots. It's just not an issue. You sign, for instance, with the mail-ins, you sign your name on application, that's the signature that better show up when it's being returned. All of those things can be done in a way that is simply ensures the security of our elections. And look, I appreciate the fact that we have participated in this discharge resolution to try and bring some light to it. Hopefully that will push the majority party in the right direction. I think this could be a big victory for the institution as a whole to show that, look, we're willing to get, look, it's not easy to get into election issues right now, especially in a presidential year. This is something you could do, you could get done, you could be proud of, and hopefully we'll see it happen.
And I think it's important to note this will not have an impact this year. If it's on the ballot, it will not impact
But it
this
would be
election.
on the ballot.
It would be on the ballot,
right?
but it would change no rules
Right.
relating to how we vote now, because I know that's a big thing in a presidential year, making changes as to the process, and that this will not do that. Energy. Last week, we held a press conference because the week before the governor announced his plan on energy, which would do nothing but increase taxes, make the amount and type of energy less reliable for our grid, and really work hard, I think his package would, to push Pennsylvania producers out of the market while limiting the number of energy resources that we could be using for our grid. Now, I know that's not how they sold it, but that's certainly what common sense looks like.
Right. And because we've seen that same plan be the Green New Deal and all that nonsense be rolled out at a federal level, and it would do all of those things. You're not going to get a different result because you lower the scale to a state level.
Yeah, call it press or pacer. It'll make Pennsylvanians poorer.
Absolutely.
But this week, and last week at this press conference, we said we're going to announce in the near future our plans to make energy more affordable on every Pennsylvania consumer, families, small businesses, those that use energy. This week, our members put out that 9-bill package that would have a direct and immediate impact on Pennsylvania energy consumers with real, and I hate to say common sense, but smart energy policy focused on savings for consumers, families, small businesses, and with an emphasis on Pennsylvania-produced energy and grid reliability.
Do you know what consumers want? Our constituents. This is what energy policy is to them. And sometimes we can get real deep into the weeds about how it affects the industry and all of the vendors around the industry, all these things. But when it really comes down to it, when we talk about energy policy, you know what people want?
To walk in a room and turn the lights on.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And they want, when they get their bill, to have it not be skyrocketed, right?
Yep.
They want lower cost and they want reliability, period.
Yep.
That's the way they view energy policy.
Yep.
If you can produce a plan that ensures that when you turn on an appliance, it works, that when it's 102 out, you can still have air conditioning, and when it's 30, you can still have heat. And when they get the bill, they don't have the shock of having to dig into their savings to try and pay their energy bill.
Mm-hmm.
If you accomplish those two tasks, your energy policy is sound. If it takes it the other direction, it's not. It's that simple. And the details, right, we're up to us to kind of hash it out and debate it. But that's what people, when they talk energy policy, that's what they're looking at. Does it increase reliability while decreasing costs? And if it doesn't do that, it's poor policy.
Yes, that's right. Poor policy that makes people poor.
Absolutely.
All right.
And we don't need 90 days to figure that out.
You don't need 90 days.
The 90-day fiancé model does not need to work here. This is one of those where first date, you walk into the room and you're telling me you're not going to be reliable and you're going to drain my bank account. You got to go.
Yeah, it's the governor inviting you to dinner, and then walking up and going to the bathroom and leaving you with the check.
In a dark restaurant with cold food.
Yes. All right. Well, you know who was left with less money and in a dark room with cold food? Shohei Ohtani.
Ohtani and his interpreter. Holy. Well, here's the. So, I don't know what happened. I know there's going to be
a transition
investigation.
to behold. By the way,
it was fantastic, and I just about I caution digging too deep into this because I don't know all the story, but the difference between Pete Rose and Shohei is Shohei has a fall guy.
Yes.
Pete Rose didn't have the interpreter that.
Well, did you see what Pete Rose came out and said?
He did.
If I came out,
right.
if I come out playing my interpreter,
right? I mean, that is. I think what Shohei Ohtani has done for baseball has been magnificent. We've not seen. I mean, it's a generational type talent. I really hope that there is no issue here, because I think it will be so bad for the game because of what he's brought to the game.
Yeah.
This takes this to a whole scary new level. Now, I will say this: while this goes on, and you have what's going on like at Temple basketball with the investigation there. I have said this. I said this with golf when they started betting on. You could bet on those events live and stuff. The scary thing about all the money that's out there with NIL in college. Mm-hmm. Right, these kids having access to these, so-and-so's got a brand new Cadillac Escalade. All of a sudden, a bookie comes up and says, well, do you want that Cadillac Escalade? You see it in golf with maybe people having, being able to yell in a backswing. It's like, oh, you'll get kicked out of the tournament. Oh, yeah, well, you could also make, $2 million. So all of these things. And now with this, our sports at the collegiate and professional level have to be so hypersensitive that if something does pan out, I think you'll see punishment like we've not seen before. Because you at some point, I don't know of another way you can control this infusion of money into the game.
Yeah, it's strange. Like I said, Shohei Ohtani, just always something. He's so good. The fact that brilliance has been showcased in such an odd way has never settled right. Mm-hmm. Shohei's, I've never been scared of him facing any team I've liked. I'm never like, oh man, Shohei's pitching tonight.
No, in fact, you kind of look for, it's going to be on national TV, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be high, and that's why this has the potential to be really scary. And hopefully it doesn't, because these are the kinds of stories that turn people off of sports, and it's coming off the heels of one of the reasons why people enjoy watching sports. If any, and everybody who listens to this knows how passionate you and I are about the PGA Tour and about professional golf. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not, go back and look up the Peter Malnati interview after he won the Valspar.
Now that's a transition.
That is why we love sports.
Yep.
That his finishing hole and the emotion that this 36-year-old journeyman athlete has had, who's not the biggest, not the strongest, doesn't hit it the longest by far. Even talked about how tough it is with all these young kids coming up with all the talent. How we see the glamour of sports in shows like Full Swing and the quarterback show on was that on Netflix? I think that they featured all the star quarterbacks making bazillions of dollars.
And even like The Captain and The Last Dance.
That's right.
And all
Yeah,
that
you see
stuff.
the glamour of it, but there's a lot of guys that you never heard of that chased a dream in sports, whether it's in the minors, grinding it out in the minors in baseball, or the G League in basketball, or the golf, the tours, and trying to reach that and never do. You don't often get to hear about those stories, and I just thought that was remarkable. Watching him win, watching the emotion that came through in that interview, that's what we love about sports.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
what we
have
love.
too much to add about that, but except I like throughout the week the PGA Tour was playing the Peter Malnati like blooper reel of like him topping shots, and my favorite one is he had his pants rolled up and he was in the water and he tries to hit it out and it goes maybe like 5 feet and rolls back in the water and he goes, all that for this?
Yeah, right. Which, by the way, you and I have said on the golf course on numerous occasions.
Yes, that's exactly right. But man, the Masters is 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Quickly becoming one of my favorite weeks of the year, as though it wasn't already. Man, there's nothing that says that not only spring, but golf season is here,
Is in
like
full
the
swing.
Masters.
Yep. I agree. I'm excited about it. I'm loving the stories this year on the PGA Tour. I'm hoping that carries on into a great Masters, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, I think good conversation this week. That's been generally assembled, and we will. No session next week. Happy Easter to you, to your family, everybody out there.
It's going to be, looking forward to it. As Holy Week services start, Thursday of this week and roll
we
through
start 'em
Sunday, and that's right. They start them tonight, and it's going to be. I love this time of year. I love Easter. It's always been one of my favorite holidays. Like you said, you got baseball season kicking into gear. You got March Madness. You got the golf really get into the swing of things. What a great time of year.
It is. All right. Well, generally assembled for this week. You can find us where all of your favorite podcasts, House Republican podcasts, are found. www.pahousegop.com/mypodcasts. On Apple, we are on Spotify, and we are on the YouTubes, the many YouTubes, the series of interconnected YouTubes. All right. All right. That's it for Representative Topper. I'm Jason Gottesman. It's been generally assembled for this week. Happy Easter, everybody.